Average. If the average of a country per capita income is $1,000, it might be a bunch of billionaires, it might be a bunch of people at the bottom.
And I'm thinking specifically of like the Big Mac Index, I think they call it, where they're measuring the price of the ability for people to get a hamburger in different countries.
And a hamburger is the be-all and end-all of,
right.
of development, right?
Exactly.
Okay. Imply that money per se is not a good measure of economic development?
That's why the PPP is important, because in different countries, money
Right.
has the potential to do different things.
But I mean, when development isn't in line with the priorities of its people, like a lot of times people consider development like synonymous with urbanization or industrialization, and that could be like against like the ideas of the actual people living in the country. Then I wouldn't necessarily say it's a bad thing, but it's not necessarily making progress in the direction.
Okay, when you said that, I kind of thought about China, because they're developing so fast that they're potentially not seeing problems that are resulting from their development, and they won't see them until later.
China and the U.S. account for 40% of our greenhouse gases, and both about around 20%. And both are trying to cut back their greenhouse gas emissions, but I mean they have to spend more money to do so. And I think economic development and environmental development seem like they have an opposite correlation almost. Like the more that you put in to developing economically, the more the environment is harmed, it seems. And with the U.S. and China, they're using a lot of industrial input, but now they're limiting the developing countries from using these fossil fuels because they don't want them to hurt the environment. But it's unfair because those people never had their chance to really develop, while U.S. just basically filled the air with fossil fuels.
I did some calculations, and the actual income of Benin is roughly that of Palo Alto. Palo Alto. One town in California. Now, can a country the size of Palo Alto afford to set up a car factory? No way. No way. So that once the car factories are in place and they're producing gazillion cars and so forth, they're economies of scale. And you can't set up economies of scale when you're starting out with an infinitesimally small market. Now, in many societies, upward mobility and change is not the operative value. You may find yourself in a village in which people pride themselves because we've always done it this way. You know, well, in America, there's a cult of youth. You guys are the cool ones, and I'm not the cool one because I don't know how. I'm not on Facebook. I don't know how to Twitter. I can barely, use my technology. You guys know this. Whereas in many developing countries, it's the elders who are given the greatest respect, and young people often can't look the elder in the eye. What does that mean? It means the elders will say, in general, I did it this way when I was 15, I'm going to do this way when I'm 70, and you guys, if you're a bunch of young Turks trying to change things, get out of town. Go to the big city, but don't mess around with the village. I think many Americans going to the developing world find themselves quite shocked. They see themselves as agents of change and progress, but they're running up against to go back to your point about how do the people think, many people say, we are not interested in all this newfangled stuff that you're bringing in. You're trying to impose your values of change and progress and equality and so forth on us. That's not the way it's been.